Hey everyone! We are going to continue our discussion on basic HTML and CSS um, for our class. And just to recall, here's what we made last class period. We started making a basic structure. We have a split view. I would recommend this. We have our code on the left, our tags on the left. We have our content on the right. And let me pull this back a little bit. This is what we have. I gave you the center column that is now in the pale yellow. We created a header, which is green, a left section, a right section, and a red footer. We're going to change all these colors, but I just wanted to make it very graphic so that we can all see what we've actually done over here on the left. You can see we have our header, section, footer. Some of these we have defined with classes. So our section left has the class section left, or section right has the section right. And we even made some rules that gave them sizes and colors. Remember, we floated this column, this section to the left. We floated this section to the right. We had to put a clear for this footer so that it didn't pop up somewhere strange. And we used page widths for these things. 40%, this is 60%, so that they will fill our 1,000 pixel column. Okay, we also should add a little title here. This is still an untitled document, so I'm just going to type in just basic HTML and CSS demo. This is the title that will go at the top of the page in the browser, so if someone goes to bookmark it, that will be the first thing to appear if they don't want to retype anything. So it's super important. You can have spaces, you can use uppercase, you can use special characters, you can use anything you want in this title. It is no problem. Okay, so yay, that's done. We're going to continue also with this navigation. If you recall, we wanted our page to look like this little prototype we put together in Photoshop. This is where I would recommend starting. We want to go ahead and on this left section, we want to have an H1, a header, and we want to have a paragraph with a paragraph's type. And then we'll just have an image in here, so that'll be super easy. And then, of course, we're going to have some social media icons on the bottom, which I don't have on this prototype, but I have given those to you guys to use on Canvas. So, all right, back here. Also, remember the windows that you want to have open. I will put this right in front and center for a minute. We have our insert menu, which we'll be using immediately, our files menu, which has all our files, and our CSS designer, which we'll need a lot as well. I have cleared everything off the screen because, you know, real estate is precious, and we will need that. Also remember, you should just see the files that are in your site. If you do not see just your site, if you see your whole computer, you need to go to the Site menu and your Manage Site dialog box and make sure that it's just your site loaded in. Okay? You can ask me about that later if you can't remember how to do that. Right, this is going to go over here. We are going to make sure that we are in the correct area. So I'm going to always go over here to our code view and make sure that we're in the right spot. So in my section left, this blue section, we want to go ahead and put our H1, our heading. So I need to grab this type, or at least put my cursor in there somewhere, but I'm going to go ahead and grab it. And here's my heading 1. I just double-clicked it, and now you see that there's a heading 1 wrapped around this. And you can tell that that has changed because since H1 is predefined HTML tag, there's default things that go with it. We're going to make it look a lot better than that. So, yay. Okay, and then we're also going to have to insert a paragraph. So this is just easier to do now, but you can do it after you put the type in either way, since you can, wrap a tag around pre-existing element. But since I know I'm going to have a paragraph following that, I'm just going to go ahead, actually, in fact, just to make this cleaner, I'll hit return, and I'll go ahead and insert a paragraph as well. I missed it. There we go. And it has some little dummy type that Dreamweaver puts in there for me, so yay! Okay. This one won't need anything. I'll just leave that type in there. In fact, I could change that to our big image goes here. I type really slow, right? Yeah. Okay. And that's interesting. It's not really updating over here like it should, but whatever. And then down here, we are going to have our navigational material in there. I'm using my Wacom tablet, which is really touchy. So, yay, it updated. Oh shit, what the fuck just happened? Okay, I'm undoing. My screen's going crazy because of the stupid tablet on my old computer. Okay, I went back. And this finally updated. All right. I had to do an undo there with the craziness. Okay. Deep breath. Okay. Our footer is going to have a little bit of navigation here. They're all going to be external links to social media sites, so down here in the red. So I'm going to go ahead and insert another piece of structure in there. Inside the footer, I am going to go ahead and just click one of these navigational things. In the old days, we would have just put like a nav div in there. But now with HTML5, you have a lot of these structural things, so we can go ahead. And I could put a nav div in there, just put a div. They're basically the same things. The markup's a little bit different, and they help some of the search engines, I guess. So, yay. Okay, so navigation. It's not the primary navigation, but it's okay. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use this little dialog box that pops up this time. This is the old school. This was from the older versions of Dreamweaver and still exists, so yet that's good for y'all that have worked with Dreamweaver 6. And I will go ahead and actually give this an ID. This will be a unique element just on this page. And why don't I call it like my social media nav. You know what? I'm even going to just go ahead and make a rule right now, because I can. So remember this dialog box. We got to make sure we're putting this in our demo style sheet, which we've already created. Remember, we're using an external style sheet that we created actually down here. You can say, okay, I'm going to make this. Why don't I make this? I'm going to keep pulling everything back on the screen. This box, I'll give it a width of like 300 pixels, and this is just a guess. We can change all these things later. And a height of about 60. All the images that are going to go in there are 50 by 50. And for now, we will leave the padding empty and the margin empty, but we'll go back and edit those in our CSS designer. And again, I'm going to put a background color on it just so y'all can see it. So it'll stick out really well in that red box, just so we'll know everything's working okay. So return, and okay, and there is my green box. Now I'm going to show you a cool trick. Okay, it's not really a trick, it's just the way CSS works. But let's go to my CSS designer and click on Demo Style Sheet and go to my social media nav that I just made. You know, because I defined the selector already, it's in here. We don't need to make a new selector, it's already there. And if we want to see the current properties, we can see this show sets. But I just want to do a little bit with the placement. I want this box to automatically center. So I'm going to go here to this first icon and go down to my margins and tell it that I want an auto left and an auto right margin. And see how that popped right in the center? It will automatically center no matter what my page size. Here it's a column, it's in a column that's 1,000 pixels, so you know, it's not a big deal, but it will be there. And I'm also going to put a little bit of padding on the top, like 20 pixels. So the content moves down. Actually, I think it might be 10, but maybe 10. I should probably just put my images in there first, but whatever. Okay, let me think. Do we need any more navigation? No, we do not. So let's just check over here in our code to make sure everything is cool. We had our footer. In that footer, we now have our nav box. And that's cool. Let's start with a nav since we're down here. I have my files in here. And I do have my footer files under footer. And there's different ways you can try this. You can try just dragging, let's do the Instagram first, your files down in here, but I never have very much luck with that. It always seems to miss. If you look at my code, it ended up way down at the bottom out of my HTML, so I'm going to undo that. It's easier for me just to go and select this content and then just drag the thing right in here and hit that. And you will see now that there is an image in that footer. And if I come over here and click, it takes a second for my screen to refresh. I can see that image, and my cursor is right after that image now, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag everything to that spot. Ooh, I missed. Let's undo that. Sometimes with this pen, I didn't think it would take so much dexterity to make this happen, but whatever. All right, my blogger one, we'll go there. You can also, sometimes it's easier if you switch into your design view. We'll go into our design view for just a minute for our last, my delicious icon. And here we'll try to go ahead and just drop it in there, and that actually worked pretty good. So the live view, not so much. Live view, it works better just dropping it in here. Design view, it usually works okay, but make sure that you're watching over here, that everything ended up in your footer, so that all these images, if for some reason some kids have sometimes broken these tags up by sticking something in within an actual tag, and then everything goes crazy. So just make sure everything's super clean. You don't have any errors, and later on we'll show you how to find your errors if you have them in your code. All right, so far so good. You're probably thinking, well, those are all jammed together, and you would be correct. This top one will be easy because we've measured it out so that's 1,000 pixels, so we'll just have to drop the images in there. In fact, we'll do that since we're on this. And we're in design view, we're just going to go ahead, I'm going to delete that type right there, hit the delete key, and we'll go back to my headers. I'm going to try dragging this in there, make sure it ended up in my header. Yes, it did. Then I can click over here, see where my cursor is. It's still in my header right after the first image. I can go to my thumbnails, which I have as buttons, and I have them ordered. 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Remember, those are all going to be links. So that was easy enough in design view. But still, don't forget to look over here and make sure everything is cool. It is cool. I should save everything. File. I am saving all right now. You probably cannot see that because I think it's only recording my one single screen, not my double screen. Okay. Oh, we were going to go ahead. We've done that already. That was quick. We're going to go ahead and modify these just a bit. So let's go back to my live view, because the plus about the live view is you can click on these and it'll tell you what, if you've forgotten what class you've associated with them, it will tell you when you click on that box. So we do need to go back to our CSS designer, and I need to spread out these images. There are 4 images, and oopsie, I did that again, stupid. Oh man, there we go. I did undo. Command Z, yay, because of my freaky tablet. Okay. Let's go here to demo style sheet. There's all our selectors. Just to remember or remind you, I'm reminding you. So these, the ones that have the hashtag, the #, those are ID selectors. The ones with the little period in front are class selectors. Remember, class selectors are generally used if you have tons of different things, like it's like a style in InDesign. You can use it over and over and over again where these things, these IDs are meant to be fairly unique. Okay. A lot of times you can use either one and they'll work, just so don't freak out. Okay, we need to modify these guys. So I'm going to click on one of these, and then we need an actual new selector for this because we don't have a selector. So I can go here, and I can hit this little plus. And remember that Dreamweaver knows or senses what you want to do. So it knows we want to work with an image, that's an image tag, within the social media nav ID selector, within this page one footer class. So it's very specific to this region of the screen. And that actually is good. If I'm going to hit if you hit your arrow up key, it truncates it down. If I just made a rule for my images, it would affect all my images. So I have images up here too. If I start spacing these apart with this image tag, all these images on the page are going to space out by default too, and it's going to ruin everything. So I'm going to hit my down arrow. With the down arrow, you can go back and add more specific tag information or rule information. So this probably is good. Right there in the middle, this will tell me that the images that exist in my social media nav ID are the ones that will be affected. So it's just going to be these 4 images in this green box. All right. So up and down arrows do that, or certainly you can just select the type and hit delete. Okay. I'm going to hit return, so that knows we want to work with this. And what I just want to do here to make this pretty simple is go ahead and go to this little margin thing and just add a little bit of margin after each image. Oops, that's too much. It automatically jumps down. Something like, I could make them equidistant. You know what? Let's do 10 on this side and 10 on this side and see how that looks. And that looks pretty centered. Maybe we'll do 12. 12. All right, look at that. Swing. And we should also, I want to move these down a little bit. I could put a little margin on the top, but I think what I will do is just pad this a little more. Let's just go add some padding here. So it looks something like that. We could make this green box a little bit bigger. That's my social media nav, right? Let's do show set, so I can look at my colors. Yep, it's the green one, social media nav. And I could increase the height a little bit, or I could even put a little more padding here. All right, it's great that in live view you can see this stuff happening as you drag these things. So we've modified our social media nav a little bit by adding a little more padding on the top, move these down. We've separated these a little bit. We had to go to the social media nav image because we actually need space between the images. So the different images need more margin. Okay. We'll talk about the box model during class. We don't have time to put that in. This is already going on longer than I'd wanted for a video. All right. Finally, this box here, and we're going to make all these the right color again. In fact, you know what? Now that this is done, we're going to go ahead, and since this is already open on our social media nav, and we have our color here, I'm going to go ahead and click that. I'm going to click this little guy here, and then I will, oops, I missed that. Oops, I missed it again. Come on, man. And go over here, click that yellow, and say return. That does not look correct. Is that the pale yellow I'm using? I think it is. I wrote that code down somewhere on a piece of paper last class, remember? But we'll just go ahead and stick with that. That is our new yellow. But you can use the 6-digit code and just type that number in, and that's the easiest way. Then we can go to our red. Our red one is the what one is the red one? Is our footer. And that's, we'll do the same thing. Grab that little guy. Click on that. Should have just wrote it down last time because that is not correct. What the hell happened there? I mean what? Try that. It's because my memory is apparently horrible. Okay, those match. FFFF95. Okay, that's easy to remember. I'm writing that down in my head. Okay. We're also going to move, oopsie. Man, it's easy to move this content with a graphics tablet. This might be the only program that graphics tablet is not cool with me, but that's what I have. Okay, so over here we have our header 1, and this is where this is going to say, you know what? Let's jump back into our design view for a minute. And what was this supposed to say? Let's just say, please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth. No, that's part of the song. I'm not going to sing. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so please allow me to introduce myself is our header. I'm just going to go ahead. Let's just jump to Photoshop real quickly and get some this information. I will do a Command-C to copy it onto my clipboard, and then I will jump back to Dreamweaver and select this. Make sure I'm in my P. Ooh, somehow I hit my P twice. I got a P and a P. I could make a joke there, but I won't. What I am going to do is take out one of these P's. Take out the NP, take out the beginning P. And so if you just want to make sure everything is cool, if you hit the last one, it'll select the first one. You can see the contents of what's between. All right, so there's my paragraph. There's my H1. I can come over here, demo style sheet. I can go down to, oopsie, I did not mean to actually insert that there, but whatever. I don't need to leave that free floating, no biggie. Notice I don't have an H1 in here. I have to go ahead and define that. So remember, the easy way to do that is just put your cursor somewhere in there or in here. Either one, you know, if I move it here, it's going to move here. So it doesn't matter where, just make sure that you're on your style sheet and you hit the plus, and it'll, I did it twice. That's okay, let's delete one. There's my section 1. I can see if I can still use my, now that it's not highlighted anymore, I can't use my arrows, but I can do this. I will go ahead and make sure that I make a compound selector, because I'm sure I'll have more H1s. Actually, you know what? I want to make all my H1s exactly the same on all my pages. So I will double click on that, select that type. So this will affect all my H1 tags on all the pages that have the style sheet linked to them. So this is very powerful. And for my H1, I will click I need to not show the sets, and click my type, because this is really just type. I can pick my font color, which I'm going to do like a gray. Okay. Middle gray. 80, 80, 80. Of course, now that I said that, I forgot what my yellow is. Dang it. Okay, return. Notice the type is gray. I need to pick out my font family. That is, I'm gonna go with Lucida Grande for now. For everything, I need to make this smaller because that looks like pretty horrible. So we will go for font size, and actually I'm going to use a unit called ems. And an em is a relative unit of measurement relative to how big your page actually is on the screen. So 1 would be the default size, and if I go to 1.5, it gets a little bit bigger. That looks a little bit big still. Let's do 1.3. This is a pretty long line to type. Okay, that's good. Also, this looks really crappy, right? Because look, ooh, That's all the way over to the edge. No designer would ever do that. Don't do that. Make sure that you do not do that. That looks hideous. And you know what else? We're going to go ahead and make this yellow now because everybody has this navigation section left correct. So let's go to section left real quickly so we can actually see what these things look like. And go to my show sets and go to my background color. And now that I've forgotten this again already, I'll have to click on this and say yes. All right, cool beans. I can double check to make sure all those background yellows are the same. But this looks much nicer here with the reason I set that line, that type on baseline is so it would have this nice cutout look at the bottom. All right, let's try something with the paragraph type. Ooh, no, I was gonna add some padding to this. What we need here is padding. So this is our section left. And we're already on here already, so that's good. Remember I gave it a width of 40%, and then this column on the right, a width of 60%. But now I'm going to add some padding. I'm going to use percentages too, and this will throw off all my percentages. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of recalculation. No worries. So I'm going to uncheck this, but just watch here for a second. When I add some padding here, like let's do 5, it messed it up already, and then %. And then over here, we'll do 5%. Notice my box got bigger. I'm going to draw an image of a box model, but the box model, it includes the padding in the size of the box. So it was 40%, and I added 5 and 5, so really it's 50%. It wants to be 50% of the screen. You can tell this is 400 pixels, that's 100, so it's basically taking 500 pixels. That math is correct. I need to go up here now and change this to 30%. So now it's 30% plus 5% plus 5%, so that's 40% of the screen on the left side there. All right. Now everything is cool again. Yay! And this looks much better. Maybe 5% was a bit extreme, but this will look good here in a minute. All right, let's go back to my header 1. I'm going to do some other interesting things with this. I want a little line under here to sort of break apart these things a little bit. So I will go ahead and do that, and you can do that with the border. So if I click the border, you'll see that one of the options I have for the border is to, oops, I hit layout again, is to give the border a width, make this thin, a style, which will be solid, and a color, which will be the same, gray, which I've forgotten, so I'm just going to guess now. I have not been keeping my little tablet next to me to write my little notes, but that would be a great idea. And normally I do, but I'm trying to be quick about it. So, all right, see that line that appeared? Hooray! If I add some padding to this type, this H1, that line should move, just so you know. I'll come over here and go over here. And let's try my bottom padding a little bit, because that is a border. There, it took a second to jump down there. Scared me there for a minute. Let's do like 5 pixels. All right, that's less tight. That looks good. And now let's do this paragraph. So I'm going to click in here, in my demo style sheet, click the plus selector because there's no P tag. Remember, this is all wrapped in a P over here on the left in the code. It's wrapped in a P. So as long as the cursor's in there somewhere, and I go to my demo style sheet and I hit plus, it'll know, oh, it's the P. Now I'm pretty sure I want all my paragraphs to look the same. If not, if there's one like individual paragraph somewhere in my website that I want different, I can give it its own class. So I'm going to hit my up arrow twice, just so it's the P, and then hit return. All right, so this is my P tag. It's part of HTML. We talked about this last class period, but remember this is one of the important tags in HTML. Okay, so my P, let's just go straight to type, and the color will stay black. It's the defaults. The font family, let's go with Lucida Grande, and we will add some line height. This is leading. I don't know why they don't call it leading. but it is. I guess there was never any lead for the web, so not like print design. The line height, let's do some, no, let's not do percentages. Let's do ems again. And let's go ahead and crank that thing up. Whoa! How about 0.2? Oh, no. I mean 1.2. 1.2 is what I meant. Okay. 1.2. That's better, but I want it higher than that. Let's just go ahead and scrub through here until I get what I want. God, my computer is so horrible. It doesn't actually do stuff on the fly like it's supposed to. Look at that. You can't actually see the numbers change. As I scrub, you can't see the numbers change, so I let go of my mouse. Okay, I guess we'll have to just type something in. 1.6 was working pretty good, so let's go with that. That looks much better. Please use your line height. You're doing a paragraph. It will make things look so much more professional. You cram all your text together, it's hard enough to read on the screen. So, line height, it's letting. And it works for everyone. All right, there's also other kinds of stuff you can do with the typography. It's really easy in Dreamweaver because of Adobe Edge to add different fonts that aren't system fonts. In the old days, you had to use very straightforward system fonts, but now you can get a little more carried away. I have a whole lecture on typography for the web coming up, but for now, if you want to add a different font, like let's go to our header here for a minute and say we want something different than this list, just go to Manage Fonts. It will bring up this dialog box where it's even, you can say, oh, I want a list of sans serif, or I want some decorative fonts or handmade fonts. Let's do some handmade fonts because I want this to be a little bit casual. And we'll see if this works all right. Chewy. That might be a little too casual. And I'm not picking something called Bilbo, just because. All right, maybe I will just go with the sans fonts and do something like Arimo. And done. Now, you notice it didn't change here. You actually have to go back and then pick Arimo or whatever, and you will see it changes. I don't like that at all now. So you know what? Since I'm still in here in my H1, I am going to change my Arimo back to Lucid Grand. All right. That looks nice and clean. All right, let's put our big image here and we're done. This will be super easy. All I need to do, I can select this type and see where it is. It's in our section right. And you know what? Instead of just trying to drag it this time from the insert thing, I'll show you an option. No, you know, I'll just do insert. We can do insert. We can do. We can change this, by the way, to common, and then we can say, let's insert an image. You click on that, and it'll bring up this navigational window, and you can go to your local root folder. And I have so many local root folders on here. It was called Murphy Demo. And this was in our images folder. It's image 0. And it's an adorable drawing from Quinn. And I do need to get that type out of there. It's easier if I just go over here and delete it from here, I think, than it is to select it on the screen. All right. Let's pull this guy out of the way. Actually, you know what? Let's just turn this off for a minute. Go to Live View. Turn off splits. And we'll see what this looks like. Oh, you know what I got to do? This is the gray from this column. I decided that, okay, first of all, I'm going to add more leading here because that is not enough. I want this sort of to fill, undo. That was my graphics tablet again. It's me trying to point around. I have the cursor in the code, so every time I start moving the mouse around to show you guys what I'm trying to talk about, like here I'm talking about this paragraph of type, it pulls something. Okay, what I do want to do is I need to make this section over here yellow, so we don't see this tan box because that looks hideous. And then I'm going to change this to gray, and change this column to yellow. So all the yellow will match, and it will look like one uniform thing. It'll be awesome. So let's go back, turn that guy back on again. So this is my section right, CSS Designer. At this point, we're not doing anything new. I'm just going to, oh wait, no, we're going to do something cool new. One last thing that's new. So, but do section right first, Jeff, and then show sets. Think. Actually, let me, that's fine. Probably would have been smarter, since I used a JPEG there, to sample this exact color, FFF95. That was right. I remember that now. Now it's completely coming back to me. So this bottom thing here, this footer, what if we want that footer to sit on the bottom of the page so it provides a nice anchor? We can do that. So let us go to our footer. By the way, these can be reordered if you start, they're not, it's great if they match what's happening over here in your code. So like the HTML should probably be at the top because that's the first thing on the page. So you know what, you can just drag it up there. Just drag it up there. It's not dragging, there it goes, it took a second. And then the bodies next, drag it up there. Then the header, and then we have our column, and then we have our section left, and then our section right, and then we have our footer. In our footer, we have our social media nav. This H1 could go up here under section left, although that one doesn't really matter so much. We might as well stick our P with that as well. It's sort of a nice little visual of how things exist. And what that does, actually, if we look at our style sheet, when I did that, it rearranged my styles so that they appear on the sheet just like they appear here. So HTML is first, HTML is first. Body is second, body is second. Okay, so that's how it works. I should save that style sheet. I did Command S. Okay. Finally, how do we move this down? Well, this is an attribute or a property called position. CSS property, it's called position. And if you look for it, so here we have our page one footer, and we have our layouts, and in this layouts, we need to undo this show set so we can see all the things we haven't done yet. You know what, I'm going to change the background color real quickly. To something slightly different. I'm going to change the two F's to zeros, just so we can see our footer again. You can see where it ends and begins. And you know what? I'm actually going to change the width to 100 pixels or 1,000 pixels because I know that is exactly the fixed space. So I'm trying to get you guys to get comfortable with using percentages, so that later on when you start to do some more flexible layouts, they will be in your head. This will be a very non-flexible thing. We're going to make this div, this footer, navigation structural element, we are going to make that fixed. By default, you see this thing called position. So this, again, is a property. And we are going to give that property a different position. We're going to actually go to fixed. The static one is the default, but we are going to say fixed. And not only are we going to say fixed, look at this weird thing it did. It took it and put it way up here. And don't freak out, because we need to set the everything next. But when you set it to fixed, it takes that out of the normal stacking order, so it wouldn't really matter where it was on this page. Although it works best if you do have it at the bottom, just for clarity. But what that allows us to do is when we set the margin, the position, we have this position one, this one we haven't used yet. We can say, you can see they're all automatic. We just go to the bottom and say we want it to be in pixels, and we want it 0 pixels off the bottom. Don't change anything else. Let the rest stay auto. If you give it a margin on the top and a margin on the bottom, it's not going to know what to do with it because your page size varies, and it's going to be like, do I stay 0 off the top or 0 off the bottom? So just do 0 off the bottom. The rest are auto. And you saw how that jumped down to the bottom like that. This also reminds me that we need to take our central column and change the color as well. So we do the show set, give me less attributes, come over here, put this guy again, and this. Oops, did I hit it correctly? How'd I get up to P? Oh my gosh. Column. Color. This guy. Return. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to keep this thing green, this footer green, just so when we do preview, you will see how this all works. So we can do preview in Google Chrome, save changes. I did all my saves. And here it is. So here's my page title that I did at the very beginning. But watch what happens here. I should probably go ahead and make my body a different color so you can see my column better, but you can probably see that there's a different yellow tone there. But look at my footer. My footer now is 0 pixels off the bottom in terms of its positioning. So that was a position attribute. And it is now fixed, so that stays there. Now if I did this, now it would never get that small, but you can see it goes in front of things, and that's actually good. It would never be that small, unless you were looking on a phone, but then I'd have a whole different setup. Okay, we'll talk about all that later. All right, so to fix, we changed the line height in this, so this is a little cleaner and a little bit longer. Switch that back to the same yellow as the rest of the page, and we will work on links next. Cool!